Hello everyone, JP the Third for Vince now here, and we are back with more of Suzerain 2.0. I hope I've gotten the audio issue taken care of, but who knows? I'm doing the best I can here, but I think I got it taken care of. So decisions have been made. Thank you very much for your feedback. Thank you very much for the excellent welcome back. I appreciate it. I'll be in the next few days releasing exactly what the channel's going to be looking like moving forward. I think it's going to be important in a lot of different ways that I talk about what happened last year and what will be happening and what I'm trying to accomplish. But that's not for this video. This video is we're going to kind of get the presidency started and settle on a way forward. I am leaning very heavily towards basically social democracy. I think it's going to be an interesting needle to thread. There is a way to do it, but there was a way to do it, in the 1.0 version of Suzerain. The decisions here are going to be a bit more complex. We're going to have a lot more legislation to work through, but we will have various opportunities. It'll be a very similar economic win for us. If you remember the economic strategy we put in place before, you will see a lot of that. We won't go full free market, of course. We'll keep the state companies and rely on them for most of our economic needs. We'll be focused more on social programs, education, and healthcare, things like that, to pump up the state. And in doing so, we'll also be pushing for democratic reforms and maintaining our majority. If we can do those things successfully, we will more than likely be able to thread the needle. But that remains to be seen. So that is what we are shooting for. And again, it's going to be a lot of social programming. The Lossberg group, the oligarchs of Sordland will not be happy. And we will have to keep that in mind. Because if you engage in any kind of scandal or any kind of questionable act and you don't make everybody happy, then that can lead to its own issues. But my hope is that we will see, I imagine we will definitely see a completely different state. Because we don't go full free market and we kind of thread this line, we should have more options open in terms of trade. Maybe even able to help the situation with Voxland and Eigenland. Or, I think that's Eigenland. To the map. Agnolia, Eigenland is a region in our country. But yes, we may be able to help that. We'll have to see. But we have a lot of options more with trying to figure out social democracy and making it work than the neoliberal, more centrist route, which I love that about this game. This game gives you so many fantastic options on how to act. And it's really up to you. So that's what we're going to be shooting for. And I have heard the request. We will attempt. There we go, reform committee's up. We will probably attempt another run at the centrist kind of neoliberal reform route. Make it a proper Western country. And but that will be down the line. That may be a stream I do. Fire strikes the whole Sword State Academy. State University brackets. A sudden fire broke out in the archive of the whole Sword State University, engulfing a significant part of the academic administration building. It was put out by the local firefighters after burning for 8 hours and ravaging through the historic library, which housed many priceless documents. Oh, that sucks. Follow abandonments. Yeah, and even like the news gives us a lot more content. In Senate development, former president and current chairman of Gasson, Elwald Alfonso, has announced his departure from the exclusive Lossenberg group. His decision has been fueled by a growing disillusionment with the interests of the secretive organization. Alfonso has been quoted saying he's intent on charting his own course away from Lossenberg. However, this abrupt exit from the group, only a few years after its defeat in the 1953 elections, marks another political setback for the man who led Sordland into its deepest recession back in 1951. And that's something we're going to have to watch too. We know that there is a point in the game where Tarkin Saul is going to play a huge role. Alfonso, if we undo his work, could also probably play a huge role. So the former presidents of the country are not to be trifled with. So when Sordish National League starts soon. Nice. I hope we get more football here. Decades after the infamous Ism incident, new unconfirmed information emerges that challenges the official state narrative. As per anonymous former Black Battalion sources, the incident was not an act of foreign aggression to destabilize Sordland, but a government conspiracy to gain influence. Materials related to members of the oligarch faction reveal startling information about the involvement of high-ranking government officials in the incident, some of which are in powerful positions to this day. Our paper won't be disclosing the details due to potential safety reasons. And this is, Lydia, a few others, I'm sure. Or Lily, excuse me. Geopolitical. Rizia lays claims to offshore gas fields. Price fluctuates in Maricopa. And in a surprising move, the Kingdom of Rizia has officially laid claim to the newly discovered Arius offshore gas fields near the Grand Duchy of Pales. I don't know. There's got to be a enunciation chart at some point, putting immense pressure on the small nation. The move has caused energy gas prices to fluctuate significantly across the Maricopa continent, affecting local economies. The tension in the region has intensified as both nations are now locked in a dispute over the valuable natural resource, with other Maricopan countries closely watching the situation. So we have now regional conflict to the north of us and to the south of us. We're gonna have the situation in Valen as well. So there's a lot more to do. Good grief. So let's get back to our own business. Report. The Sordish Great Corporation's field research team has announced new gas field discoveries in Narble. These discoveries could enhance the city's energy supply and play a significant role in the broader energy landscape in Sordland. Preliminary analysis of the yield and quality of these fields is currently underway. The corporation will soon release a comprehensive report outlining extraction feasibility. Nice. The region of Bergia is among the worst hit regions in Sordland, where homelessness has skyrocketed since the economic recession. The number of homeless in the city of Dyer is more likely to have increased by 25% in last year. The rise was particularly stark among Bluish people, where homelessness increased by 72% in just 6 years. It is reported that homelessness among ethnic minorities has reached the highest levels in more than a decade. The Bluish minority of the region now account for up to 47% of all homeless people there. Horrible. Like, we have problems. National Preservation Foundation of Laren has organized a march promoting ecological practices in nature preservation. The event witnessed significant participation demonstrating the local community's commitment to environmental issues. This peaceful demonstration has successfully raised awareness about Laren's unique biodiversity and environmental challenges. Good to know. Now, police report on the fire. A fire broke out in the academic administration building of the Holsword State University. The initial report from the chief of police in Holsword indicates a near-to-complete destruction of employee records from 1890 until now, along with original copies of internationally recognized academic research destroyed. That was done on purpose, I think. Public opinion. People's views on the need for democratic reform in the government structure has changed over the last decade. Reformist propaganda from the leader of the People's Freedom and Justice Party, Franz Richter, has resulted in a massive increase in the demand for democratic reforms. It is estimated that currently 55% of the population supports the reformist ideas. Running as a dictator in this particular political environment has to be daunting. I can't imagine. And that'll be something I'll play with one day, like trying to be either a hardcore left-wing or right-wing dictator when the people are just so clearly against you. The Grand National Assembly in Holsword is readying the Sordland Tourism and Cultural Preservation Act. This act aims to enhance the cultural tourism appeal of several cities, including Boren, Ribery, Lochvin, Enrica, and Benfey, in a collective push to make Sordland a global tourist destination. Interesting. I can't wait to see what the radical has to say about it. Simon Hall, Gus Miner, and Lilius Graff were about to arrive at the White Room for our scheduled economy meeting. This was the room in the Maroon Palace where all important meetings were held. Two assistants arrived first, carrying a heavy projector. They stood with it by the door, waiting for the ministers to enter. From the hall, I heard Lilius Graff's voice. She was using the patient, almost motherly tone she often took in heated arguments. Gus, do you really think that such an economically advanced area is more in need of investment than England? Lilius, my interior minister, strode in. She was clad in shades of brown and beige. The only spot of color, a bright yellow Dasnur's cross on her necklace. Dasnur's, gotcha. Gus followed close behind. Don't be an idiot, Lilius. What about the unemployment crisis the greater Holsword and Gelsland regions are going through? These areas are our economic heartland. I could have said that with much more energy. I'll work on that. Gus curled his hands into fists. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development's temper hadn't changed since his days in the Alfonso administration, but neither had his reputation for getting things done. His far-reaching network of connections was unlike any other. Simon Hall quickly stepped between the two ministers without looking at either of them. He cleared his throat. Good morning, Mr. President. What's this debate about? Just a disagreement in internal economic strategy, President Rayne. Not sure I would call it just a disagreement, Lilius. Could you enlighten me, Gus? Ms. Graff seeks to focus our economic development in a region where we can't reap the financial benefits. Business leaders are requesting better logistical links in order to contribute to the economy more. A wise idea, if your main agenda is to make money instead of developing the region and serving the people. Lilius, could you elaborate? Of course. The argument is simple. Adland is our weakest region, both in terms of economic and social support. We should support the city of Arvery and its respected mayor. How impartial can you really be? Simon was observing the argument. What are your thoughts, Simon? I have to say I agree with both of them. Adland is in need of investment, and we can improve Greater Holsword and Gelsland. I want to avoid this topic now, since we will talk about it in the future. I would rather first fully brief you on our current economic situation. Simon pulled a silk handkerchief out of his pocket and briefly wiped his glasses. My staff and I have comprehensively analyzed every aspect of... He was interrupted by a groan from one of the assistants by the door, both of whom were now visibly struggling to hold up the heavy projector. Oh, you can put that there. He pointed below the painting of President Saul. The assistant placed the projector next to the table and saw the white screen on the wall. Leave now. I mean, thank you, and please leave now. Never change, Simon. The assistants left the cabinet room. I was reminded that Simon had never quite had a way with people, but his faculty with numbers had made him the most sought-after economic specialist in Sordland. Simon started looking for his slides. He always carried documentation around with him. Wait. Lilius leaned to the table and spoke. Simon, what happened to the new police station construction in Estord? While going through his briefcase, he paused for a moment to answer. It got stalled due to a government property boundary issue. I've been meaning to look into it. I can take a look at that one. Estord needs all the security help it can get. Sure, more time for me to spend on my analysis. His eyes glittered when he finally found the slides he was looking for. There have been some developments about the Sordish Ren losing further value today. We've been trying to stabilize it along with the central bank. The recession of '51 put enormous pressure on the economy, resulting in the collapse of the value of our currency. The entire situation was a significant cause of concern for our administration. What would you like to know about the current economic situation? What's our GDP and debt situation? Our current GDP is 310 billion Sordish Ren, and the national debt is 427 billion. It's still hard to fathom we lost nearly 150 billion in wealth. The past 3 years were tough. What is our unemployment and inflation rate? Unemployment has skyrocketed. It's now at a staggering 16%, and inflation is at a relative high of 10%. Unemployment is increasing crime and drug use. We need to get people off the streets. Inflation isn't helping our average citizen either. What is the status of the recession? The economy has been in a recession of about negative 6% in the past year. The average GDP has dropped from SR 15,454 per capita to SR 10,359 from 1951 to now. These are the well, it would have been, it was easier to just say 15,454 ren instead of SR. That's just the denomination of the currency. This administration's success depends on our ability to stop the recession. The sooner we can reach GDP growth, the better. I have all the information needed. Let's move on to the economic strategy. Simon scattered the paper stack in front of him in an orderly manner and took a final look at his thoughts before clearing his throat. As you can see, the situation is alarming, but not everything is negative. The extensive privatization program of Alfonso and key foreign direct investment left us a large budget surplus, which we can use to stabilize the crisis. The primary subject we need to settle on is what general paths we will take in our term. Solonomics-based nationalization happened in the 30s, and Alfonso's privatization began during the end of the 40s. What will our administration focus on? One of our main promises was to promote a planned economy to stop the recession. To be frank, I still don't think this was a good idea. We shouldn't go back to Solonomics. It's the reason for the recession. Self-sufficiency will help us in tough times. Simon ignored the statement. What are some of the consequences of the free market strategy? There are not many, but one could say we are much more likely to be influenced by the world economy. It is important to think about this subject because the upswings of the world economy will reflect good on ours too. Yes, and when the global economy crashes, we go down with it. The structural problems of Solonomics were going to lead to a recession according to the predictions at the time anyway. Either way, even if we pick one of the doctrines, we retain the option to make economic choices on a case-by-case basis. That is, however, not recommended in my point of view. The last thing we need is a chaotic economic plan. Finally, something we can both agree on the list. There is another important point which has a direct impact on our economy: superpowers. We have done well not aligning ourselves with any of them. Economically speaking, an isolationist policy overall could only work if we were to reap the benefits of both spheres and their rivalry. This is very dangerous to attempt, but still possible. We should be very cautious. There are schemes being devised about Sordland. We cannot give in to their wants now or in the future, otherwise our country will turn into a pawn. Time will show if staying neutral will work out. We must make it work to protect our country and our values. There is no other way. We need to be open to other possibilities. Acacia is a strong country, and if we end up in their sphere, Sordland would increase its influence in the world. The deals we would get would surely bring us out of recession. In return for what? Our independence? They looked at a sip of water from the glass. When the time comes, I hope you make the right decision for our own good. We should attract more foreign direct investment, Mr. President. We saved the country from a full-on depression in 1952 and 1953 by signing lucrative trade deals with nations such as Rizia, Lesbia, and Canal. Simon cleared his throat again. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Minister Weesey will be in charge of informing you of those type of foreign policy decisions. Let's first plan out our internal economic plan. Simon put forward a legal document outlining the possibilities with both economic doctrines listed. The cabinet members looked at me. What is our long-term economic schedule? Picking a construction company, trade relations, tax reform, and welfare privatization or nationalization initiatives will be some of them. We must choose wisely. Remember that the free market economy in all forms is the future of the world. I wouldn't be so sure. Wouldn't a planned economy bring us stronger allies? It would make United Cantana diplomatically look at our country in a more positive light. They are proponents of the planned economy. The influence or carry they have on the world economy is extensive. Our economic strategy should be based on internal reasoning, though. That's all to thank. We have Saul and his planned economy for the boom. We have to thank Saul and his planned economy for the boom. It clearly shows the success of the system. Precisely the reason why we should stick to the old system. State planning and regulation both showed great success in the 30s. Only for a limited time until even Tarkasol himself discovered the limits of the system. The slowdown began during his rule, remember? Let's move on to the conclusion. What are your final thoughts, Mr. President? The economist in me is just in total pain, but we said state capitalism, so we're going to give it a shot. Critical institutions must remain in state control, must be fully responsible in delivering services. Few could be, and it wouldn't be negative, but either way, you make the choices. So, what will our general economic plan promote? Promote a planned economy as we promised. I'm not sure if we made the right decision here. That's a word. Now that there's clarity in which direction we are heading, I'll work on a good plan accordingly. This concludes our meeting. At our next gathering, we will talk about the upcoming infrastructure investment plan. Now that the economic direction was taken, the ministers dispersed for lunch at the Royal Palace. That exploded. Again, economically, this is just kind of uncharted waters, but it can be done. Sordish Tourism and Cultural Preservation Act, currently under deliberation in the Grand National Assembly, is a shining beacon of hope. Okay, so they want more tourism. Unfazed by recent political development, Gassam is set to bolster Sordland's infrastructure and support its ongoing development efforts. As one of Sordland's largest corporations, Gassam's financial aid, logistics support, and economic aid are crucial to Sordland's economic resurgence. This advertisement is supported by the Alfonso Foundation. I said. Contacts close to the government reported that yesterday Sordland's economic policies have been planned from behind closed doors. Shortly after the meeting, that was also attended by President Rayne, the Ministry of Economy has released a statement regarding the short-term economic plan, which includes the promotion of a planned economy. The economists is going to lose their mind. The Meteorological Institute has reported that a record low temperature of -29 in the city of Suzerain. A warning for frostbite has been issued in the cities of southern Bergia. People are advised not to go out unless they must due to the risk of frostbite. Schools are closed for this period. El Alfaro, the once influential political figure and former president, has publicly severed ties with the influential Lothenberg group, frustrated by the group's direction. Alfonso's political failures, including a devastating loss to President Anton Rayne, I'll read a little further up. Despite this apparent show of independence, one can't help but view his decision as a demonstration of the growing rift within Luxembourg. Alfonso's political failures, including a devastating loss to President Anton Rayne in the 1953 elections, and its triggering of the 1951 recession, casts a long shadow on this move. Agreed. A man in his 20s has been beaten with baseball bats in a paramilitary-style attack in Harvard. The man claims to have been attacked because of his ethnic background as an Anglo-Sordish citizen. He was approached during a walk in the park by a group of right-wing extremists who are suspected of being regulars at the local National Front Party office. The group inflicted injuries to his legs and arms, police said. The man was brought to the hospital after making his way to a nearby property. So Armadine Industries. I got there. A new prototype for the first pocket radio was displayed by the Arcadian electronic company Armadine Industries in Ventry City. After 6 years of research, the engineers behind the pocket transistor radio has revealed that the material science questions regarding the composites have been solved. The company is now filing the patents for the product. Very nice. Something's going on the world stage. Oh, we finally got Riza's congratulations. King Romus Taurus of Riza has formally extended warm congratulations to President Anton Rayne following his electoral success. In an official address, he praised Sordland's thriving democratic ethos and expressed a keen interest in fortifying bilateral ties under the Rayne administration. The king anticipates a future of close cooperation and mutual respect between the two nations. We're going to have a lot more countries to deal with, aren't we? A significant step forward in international diplomacy, the Continental Security Pact, an intergovernmental military and economic alliance of 9 countries led by United Quintana, has signed a 5-year non-aggression pact with the Federation of Anrakan Isles. This landmark agreement underlines the CSP's commitment to broadening its influence beyond its home continent of Quintana, while maintaining peaceful relations across the globe. That sounds like a fascinating country. For the first time in 3 years, the agricultural output of Sarna has increased. Many experts link the increased output to both a drop in temperatures and new farming practices that have been adopted in recent years. Good stuff. Recession led to a reduction in rail assets, with more than a fifth of the railway network itself antiquated, being mothballed in recent years. While the main lines of the railway network are currently in service, increased demand in goods from Guildford to the capital is pushing the network to its limits. The state signaling system in the region dates from the middle of the last century, is also in need of improvement. So, if you notice, this is on the road between, it's going to be the L1 project. It's on the rail path between Holsworth and Lockman. So, the Gassam-C rig off the coast of Lockman has paused oil extraction operations for essential maintenance. The rig has been a significant contributor to Lockman's oil output, and its temporary shutdown can impact the city's production levels. The maintenance timeline remains uncertain. The local government is monitoring the situation and making arrangements to ensure minimal disruption of the city's oil supply. Infrastructure. It's infrastructure week, everybody. The recent collapse of the tourism industry in Dunkirk has led to a reduction in tariffs and trade traffic and road maintenance. The road network is currently in service, but in need of substantial improvement. A lot needs to be done. We should still have the option, if we can get the first major economic project off the ground, to go back and do an infrastructure project in Agland. We just can't prioritize it, if I remember correctly. In Bourne, there's been a significant surge in demand for local wine. This sudden increase has led to a busy season for vineyards and wineries across the region. The cause of this rise in demand comes from international interest, and it is certainly driving economic activity in the city. Wineries are ramping up production to meet the increased demand. The number of people filing for unemployment in Warner continues to rise as the recession continues. Ugly business. Lucian and Peter arrived at my office to talk about recent developments in the media strategy. They both took their seats across from me. Lucian put on his reading glasses and quickly went over some documents. Peter turned to Lucian and nodded. Greetings, gentlemen. I've just received further information from the interior about the sudden fire that broke out at the Holsworth State University archives nearby. Tell me more. The initial report from the Holsworth police chief indicates a potential arson case. In accordance with protocol, the Sordish Intelligence Directorate has been called. Is the SID really necessary for this? Why would anyone hit the archives of a university in the first place? I see no logical motive there. It seems like the chief suspects foreign sabotage. They've informed us that a large section of the archive has been destroyed. It includes tens of thousands of globally recognized research documents in original by the great thinkers of our people. It's a shame that so much knowledge was lost. Luckily, most of the originals have copies in other universities and some international libraries. The first edition of my favorite book, The Geopolitics of Sordland by Herman Ecke, was destroyed too. Excuse me. Herman Ecke, That's gonna be a reference to Umberto Eco, if I am familiar enough with it. Maybe it was just a freak accident. We do have copies of most important works, so no single fire can eradicate our knowledge. I see no point in destroying employee records either. More importantly, we should mention that Marcel Caranti contacted me. The Carantis have always been known as one of the richest and most influential families in Sordland. Marcel Caranti was no exception. He was the oldest son of Conrad Caranti. Send a picture for Conrad. He is the oldest son of Conrad Caranti, the industrialist and media mogul who founded HOS, the richest man in the entirety of Sordland. Lucian turned to me. He has offered to meet with you, Mr. President. Why is Conrad sending his son? He, unfortunately passed away today. After the passing of his father, may he rest in peace, Marcel aims to become the next CEO of the HOS conglomerate. We mentioned a productive collaboration. They're a powerful and influential conglomerate. To start with, they own the Sordish Today newspaper, the Sordish Broadcasting Corporation, which means it would be wise to have them on our side. Sorry for interrupting. What does this productive collaboration entail? I do not wish to explain the details over the phone, but rather in person. I believe I will be receiving a call from him sometime soon. However, as Peter said, they have substantial powers over the content of media outlets, headlines, radio shows. That is what he would be offering. What he wants in return is what we need to understand. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we need to determine our general approach to the media. And I'm no media expert, but Lucian made some very interesting arguments at the preparation meeting today. There are two ways we can approach the media. One of them is by influencing it, which has clear advantages. The other is by keeping it independent. The media must be independent. Ideally, yes, but an unpopular leader will not be able to pass even the easiest reforms. It is of utmost importance to maintain public popularity and avoid any damaging scandals and mistakes. I must stress one thing, Mr. President. The more people we have supporting our agenda, the more we can accomplish. With someone on our side in an influential media organization, we can do this very easily. I see what you're getting at. I agree with Lucian, but why the assumption there will be scandals and mistakes? We can always hope for the best, but do we really think that nothing can go wrong? Especially considering the very recent history of Sordland. 2 nights were heard on the door. Please come in. Lydia Suno, my new secretary, entered the office. Her dark curls bounced as she crossed the room to my desk. She spoke with the slightest lilt in her voice. Excuse me, Mr. President. Mr. Glay's secretary has been calling me and wanted to relay a message. Marcel Caranti, the new CEO for HOS Conglomerate, is on the line for Mr. Glay. I keep pronouncing it 2 or 3 different ways. Well, ball's in our court now. Would you like to talk to him, sir, or would you like me to? You go ahead. Connect the line to my office. Right away, sir. Connected the call line. Olivia left the room and the phone started ringing. Lucian picked up. A few minutes passed as the two talked on the phone. Good news indeed. Congratulations, Mr. Caranti. Thank you for contacting me about this. We will talk later. Lucian put the phone down. What was so important that it couldn't wait? He was just elected CEO by the board of directors. He offered a partnership deal regarding his media branch. He is inviting us to his resort near Conrad for a meeting. The board has decided rather quickly. It seemed that gave him the confidence to approach us again. He's run off for a real deal and now has the power of the conglomerate too. The choice is up to you, Mr. President. I can set up the meeting soon. I'd like to hear your opinion, Peter. I have to say I'm torn. If he has become the CEO, then he has enormous influence now. On the other hand, do we really want to privately meet with someone we don't fully know? A meeting would help us figure him out. We can still say no to whatever he offers. Arrange a meeting with Mr. Caranti. I'll set things up right away. Expect a worthwhile meeting next month. It's settled then. Looking forward to next month. A wonder if he has a pool. Richard looked at his watch. It appears we're done for today. We will continue where we left off later. Thank you for your time. The war with Marcel. Keep it up. Lucian and Peter nodded before gathering their documents and leaving my office. We were already getting the attention of key figures, potentially dangerous ones. Fluctuating energy prices, lovely. We have that to worry about now. And for an, I'm assuming if we have to do a deal with Brazil, that would be a key part of it. Fire. We should have asked. We should have held on him for Peter's point on that. Gotham hiring freeds amidst economic strains. As Sordland grapples with economic challenges, Gotham, one of the nation's largest corporations, has announced a freeze on new hires. The corporation, integral to Sordland's energy sector and a significant contributor to its economy, has yet to announce when it intends to lift the hiring freeze. But its development is a blow to the Sordish workforce. It is a reminder of the delicate state of our nation's economy. The inauguration is up. What on earth? What? This is the hold on. Switching to the global map. Okay. Galmland? Okay. So here. This looks like it's supposed to be Scandinavian. Okay. And it kind of goes into what... Looks like it feeds into either a African or Middle Eastern continent or inspired continent. With that knowledge, under the leadership of Gonza's second female leader, Brigid Halvor's daughter, Iceland. The ideological dispute between Gomlin and Vogsland has intensified. Halvor's daughter's wow. Let me get myself together. Halvor's daughter's government has been actively promoting the development and implementation of the Gaulish Manifesto, a unique interpretation of Carlos Macias's communist theory. The country has been pushing this agenda in other CSP countries, gathering support and building alliances in an effort to strengthening their position in the region. However, internal factions backed by Voxlandian socialism and United Catalan Malenyvism pose a significant challenge to Halvorson's government. These factions are working to undermine the Gaulish Manifesto and weaken Gaulish influence among its allies. As tensions escalate, both nations find themselves locked in a fierce ideological battle with potentially significant consequences for regional stability and cooperation. The ongoing contest has recently resulted in the imposition of trade tariffs between the two countries, further straining relations and impacting the regional economy. These economic barriers are likely to exacerbate existing tensions and make it more difficult for the two nations to find common ground on key issues. Observers are closely monitoring the situation, hoping that both nations can find a peaceful and mutually beneficial resolution to the ongoing dispute before it escalates further, potentially impacting the expansion of the CSP alliance. And this one. As Rayne's administration starts its first term, there will be questions in all As the Rayne administration starts its first term, there is a question in all of our heads. What will be the regional international trade policy due to the strategic geopolitical location of Sordland? Historically, Agnolia and Valen have been natural trading partners, depending on the direction of the Rayne administration. We think it is likely that a new trade deal will be brokered with at least one of these partners in the near future. All in all, regardless of which trading partners the administration decides to go with, One thing is for sure, regional trade will boost the ailing economy. The real question is what the Slothan or Lesbia think about Sordland. Kirut. The Republic of Kirut congratulated President Anton Rayne on his recent election victory in Sordland. Chancellor Enos Adrium, I'm gonna presume I pronounced that right, of Kirut, extolled Sordland's democratic process and the peaceful transition of power, emphasizing shared values. Kirut expressed positive outlook to continued diplomatic collaboration and mutual growth within Sordland. That did something to my brain. I don't know why. Just him with the suddenly everything just became sluggish. Declining energy. Tourism potential and reverie. With its rich historical sites, unique culture, and natural beauty, Rivery has untapped tourist potential. However, the city lacks the necessary infrastructure and promotional activities to become a fully fledged tourist destination. Tourism is going to be a thing. Like, there's going to be pressure for us to sign that act. Updated to include Marcel, that's the new CEO. Further investigations by the police department reveal a potential arson with no identified suspect yet. The police chief of Holsword has voiced concerns about suspected sabotage by a foreign nation, inviting the Sordish Intelligence Directorate and the investigation to expand the Sordish Intelligence Division in the investigation to expand the investigation. Okay, so it's not just me. This is just how it's being written. The Reform Committee reports that any potential change to the Constitution in the direction of the reforms will likely result in strong opposition from the National Front Party. Good. I don't want to be aligned with Nazis. The members of the Assembly in support of such a direction seem to be in great number, and possibly make up a majority of the Grand National Assembly, while most members of the United Sordland Parliament seem reluctant about supporting such changes. We'll work on it. Section 1 of the bill stipulates a significant change in the methodology of public funds allocated to political parties. New measures replace the previous system based on the number of votes won in the general election, with a system relying on the proportion of seats secured by a political party. Section 2 sets the annual financial allocation to political parties at 500,000 Ren per each member of the Assembly. This shift ensures that financial support for public funds align more closely with a party's representative influence within the legislative body. Section 3, a consequential effect of these amendments will effectively lead to a substantial increase in the election budget for the USP and a minor augmentation for the parties present in the Assembly. This restructuring of funding fosters a more proportional representation of party presence within the Assembly. Section 4 highlights the important consequence of this reallocation. Parties that do not meet the 10% election threshold will see their public funding effectively curtailed. This measure ensures that public resources are concentrated towards parties with a significant representation in the Assembly. So, basically, all that to say is that it's the exact same bill, but just better detailed. It gives us more money to stay in power. That's all you really need to know. Trying to think. I know we'll need the we should be able to get the votes. We should be able to get the votes. Just because we're continuing Solomonics, we should be able to get the votes. But I will need PFJP and a few others, so let's not take any chances. Campaign finance bill finance bill has been vetoed by President Rayne after its approval from the Grand National Assembly by a majority vote on Friday following a 3-hour debate. Friends Victor have also objected to the funding package, saying it contained too much unfairness in the allocation of the budget. Also sought to delay proceedings by demanding a formal recorded vote, but was overruled. The bill passed by the Assembly, but failed to become law by President Rayne's decision. Yeah, this way, I know I'll be able to keep most of my votes in-house, because I know what the Constitution will be doing. We'll be keeping Solonomics. Clearly, we're not going too far into the neoliberal direction, so we'll be able to keep most of our party together. It's the other parties that I'll need to just make absolutely sure that we win. And if I had signed that bill, I know Friends Victor would have been on my case. So, better safe than sorry. And of course, the radical likes it, which always worries me. A new bill that further expands the unfairness of our election system has been approved by the Grand National Assembly. It was later vetoed by President Rayne. Rayne deserves credit for crushing the undemocratic proposal, even though it came from his own party and would have benefited himself. Okay. I think it's appropriate at this time for me to go get a glass of water. I've been reading a lot. When we come back, we'll be dealing with the mega infrastructure project. I think I'm still going to do the L1 high-speed rail, it's high-speed rail, because that is going to be the fastest way to get our economy going. But we'll see if they present any other mega infrastructure projects or anything like that we need to be aware of. So leave a like if you have enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. And we will be rolling out a more formal schedule for everything very soon. Thank you for your support. Thank you for keeping up with the channel. I'll see y'all in the next one.